Good afternoon. I hope you all had a good lunch. I would like to talk about improving datasets in Pure. My name is Dimitri Unger. I'm a application manager of research information systems at the Vrije Universiteit of Amsterdam. And I'm also joined by my colleague Reingers Hauk, who is the director of research and innovation at the Leibniz University in Hanover, Germany. This is us. What I would like to talk about is mainly the results of the Dutch working group on datasets, followed by why it is important to improve dataset functionality in Pure, some ways in which we can communicate on these issues, and I will finish with some questions and answers if you have any. First, the inspiration for starting a Dutch working group on datasets came from a visit some of my colleagues had going to the UK. They had a tendency to pick a topic and start a work group to see if there could create sort of a list on what things could be improved in Pure and present those findings to Elsevier. And when my colleague came back, I suggested we created a similar group but focused on datasets. Since datasets is somewhat, in my view, neglected aspect of research. But on the other hand, it is gaining more traction and interest, at least within many universities in the Netherlands, and my university in particular. For once, we are starting a project on supporting the whole research process from beginning to end when in regards to working with datasets. And we want to support it more and create a better policy to help researchers work with data. So first we decided to come together. A lot of my colleagues signed up, and we had several meetings, and we named all the various issues which concerned us. And I also held meetings with and interviews with users at my university on who inserted records of their datasets in Pure and what their experiences were with using it, and if they had any comments or other issues with that particular part of Pure. When we collected all this information, we could divide them in 4 topics. First, and probably the most important one, is interconnectivity. To best represent dataset, you need to get data from somewhere. So it is useful if you connect as many external sources as possible to Pure and import all the metadata. And also, once you have it, that you can export it to other external sources as well if they are in need of it. Excuse me. So this will improve the coverage and quality of the data you have in your system. And also it will make it possible to get a better insight in what your university is doing in regards to datasets. The second topic is usability. This was the result of the interviews I had with the researchers at my university, and what came forward was that many did not understand terms used in Pure because they don't use these terms in their own research fields. This can partly be solved by giving more information within Pure to these researchers, but also providing sort of courses or other instructions outside of it, so they are more familiar with it, how to use the system. But if the first one, the interconnectivity, is solved, this will also probably solve the usage issue for them, since they have to use it less than because a central harvesting process is in place that takes away most of their manual work. And another point is that it would be useful if more metadata fields are added to the dataset template to better describe the datasets themselves, but also to help the administration of the records for the managers of the data. Which relates to the third topic, administration, to better help the managers of the data. It would be useful if more filters were added and more search options were included to find gaps in the data and to determine whether the quality of the data is good. And the last topic is profiling. Researchers spend a lot of time creating datasets and creating documents describing these datasets, and I think it's possible to improve the profiling of datasets on portals and in this Pure system to better display the data and connect them to other researchers and other people who are interested in datasets as well. So why improve them? Recently there has been an increase in relevancy to working with datasets and metadata. One of them, for example, are the FAIR principles to ensure that datasets are better findable, more easy to access, can be used by many institutions easily, and that the data can be reused for other research as well. Also things like the Dublin Core standard, which creates a standard for metadata for datasets, which makes it easier to share metadata on datasets. Currently, datasets are underrepresented. Only 16% of the data repositories that have metadata on datasets are linked to CRISIS, and of all the Pure portals, Rangus looked them up, only 10% show datasets. And if Pure is improved, I expect this number will quickly grow. So many projects are on the way to better support metadata and datasets usage and research data management. So it becomes more important that we, as the users of Pure, better inform Elsevier of what our needs are. And this is why I would suggest that we try to find a common ground and find what the issues and needs are of each of us and communicate them to Elsevier to better create a view of what we need and what can be, what we expect from them. So there's a lot of information that we wish to get into the system, and it would be useful if we could connect more of the data. And some of the, these are just some of the examples of external sources which we would like to link to it. Although I have been informed that Elsevier has created a new search, data search option, which will be released, I think, in 5.16, which includes some of these external sources, but we'll have to see how it works. But I'm curious and interested. So I suggest we try to find a way to get together on these topics more often and use a number of channels and communications to exchange our ideas and needs. And for that, I would suggest using systems like Slack, perhaps hold online meetings, and also we can use these conferences to get together for those people who are interested in this particular topic and discuss what we need, and perhaps better communicate them to Elsevier and see if they can put it on the roadmap. So, if you have any questions regarding, okay.
Yes, I have one question, maybe not a good question to say in this company, but why did you choose for Pure? Because there are a lot of different opportunities, products you can choose from. So why the choice for Pure?
Well, we're already using Pure, so we could start using another system, but then we would have to invest in that as well, and we have to implement it. So Pure already has the option to register metadata on datasets, so it would be better to improve it than to find a new system, which we also have to invest in, and perhaps also doesn't cover all the needs that we have.
Maybe,
Yeah.
That additional question: what are the possibilities in Pure to register the datasets?
Sorry.
Maybe there's a misunderstanding because we are only talking here about the metadata. So, yeah. So, of course, we want to have the metadata in Pure in order to enrich our research information, because, of course, we are interested in how is the data linked to our equipment, to our publications. So that would be, and I think it would not only be interesting for institutions, but also it's, well, it's a goal of open science to have more connections in between data sets and other research information. So that's why we want to have it in a CRIS.
You might have just answered my question. So I was going to ask whether you're using Pure as your datasets repository, and if you were...
No.
Yeah, because some other institutions have kind of made me aware that there's some kind of size restrictions.
Yeah, because we use other archives, and yeah, certain datasets are too vast to insert into Pure, and since we already have other archives, those are the ones we use, and also our researchers use sort of their own external archives, which are commonly used within their field. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, could I add something about the Pure? I'm Renze Branson from the University of Amsterdam and the University of Applied Sciences in Amsterdam. We also use Pure for registration datasets, but not for datasets storage that we use Figshare for. But one of the why we registrate datasets in Pure is because we already have Pure and we report about publications and activities. And now our policymakers, our board, wants to have one report with all those content types. So then it's easier to have one system, and this reporting system of Pure is the driving force to use Pure. And I suppose at the moment there's no alternative for Pure. But that's my opinion. Maybe the real.
Any final question? There you go.
I have a quick question about how do you plan to get that information from your researchers? Because when we talk about research output in terms of peer review, with Pure we can automate things and really lower the administrative burden on the researcher, but for data sets I wonder how do you propose you're going to get that information from researchers, because I can already tell you that's going to be very difficult.
Well, that is also the reason for the improvement of linking to external sources, because getting indeed researchers to manually insert data sets is problematic. Some of them are willing to profile their data sets, and they are willing to put in the energy to get it into the system. But most of them are not working as actively with the system, so it is useful if there is a central process in which you can search online for data sets that are linked to your university or your institution, and you can get them in through that way and not have to rely on researchers. So that is why I would prefer a central harvesting system.
And maybe, you know, with the data set discussions, it's sometimes like a vicious circle. We always say, okay, the researchers don't want to publish their data sets. Why should they? It's not really good for their career, at least not at the moment. But actually, I think those quizzes are really very much a turning point in the culture, or could be a turning point, because it makes the data sets much more visible. If you look at portals where you can see data sets, like in Manchester, I think they made a really large effort to pull in data sets like 5,000. I think they have more than 5,000 now on their portal, and I think that's really interesting to have. Yeah, you look at research, and then you really can really easily see the different data sets, and also this displays when you go into Google Data and so on. So it's, well, actually I'm more like of a policy, not maker, but pusher. So that is really one very, very important thing for me, and I really would wish that Elsevier would put more interest into it, because it could be, one point of a revolution in universities. If really this dataset module would be kind of touched again. I think it's rather old, and if you already look at it, there are, if you try Mendeley data import, you get some really bad Jira issues and so on. And that's really old, and it seems to me like it hasn't been a long time that anybody has looked at this module, so I'm already looking forward to our next presentation, not our, but from the colleagues from Elsevier, where they're going.